Well, as I was saying, it is really a joy to see everybody in the house tonight. My name is Nkosi Anderson. I am a member of the Rise Up October Steering Committee. I am also a PhD student in Christian social ethics at Union Theological Seminary. And it is my pleasure to welcome everybody who is in the house here tonight, those of you watching the live stream, and I also want to acknowledge those of you who may be watching a recording of tonight's event. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Now, friends, I wish I could say that we were gathered here tonight for a celebration, but that is not the case. In fact, it is quite the opposite. We are in a state of emergency in this country. Broken windows, tight policing, mass incarceration, and the police killings of black and brown people are terrorizing our communities. These injustices cannot continue. And so, we are all here tonight to stand together to say, no more. This stops now. Now, our host for this evening is the First Corinthian Baptist Church here in Harlem, USA. Let's give it up. And so right now it is my great pleasure to introduce their pastor of congregational care, Pastor Willie Francois III, who will give a welcome. Pastor Francois. Okay, so Pastor Francois is not here yet, but as soon as he enters, I'll have him come forth. In the meantime, I'll just continue. In the house tonight are relatives of people who have been killed by the police. Now, we're going to acknowledge you further later on in our program. But for the time being, I'd like to invite all who have lost a family member to police violence to come and sit in the front rows that we have reserved for you here tonight. So feel free to come. Now, tonight's program is sponsored by the Stop Mass Incarceration Network, an initiative started by Carl Dix and Cornel West. Let's give it up for these brothers. Now, I want to emphasize the network component. Tonight's speakers represent a wide range of perspectives, backgrounds, and orientations towards this problem on unjust policing. But we are united in standing together to fight it. The Stop Mass Incarceration Network is part of the larger movement in this country and around the world to stop police terror. And so we extend partnership to various individuals in this fight, activists like Black Lives Matters, Campaign Zero, and so forth, religious groups, student organizations, etc., etc. We need all hands on deck in this fight. And only by working together, even in our respective initiatives and lanes, can we ever hope to overcome. But overcome we shall. The purpose of this evening is to build momentum for Rise Up October. All right, give it up. Now, we're going to talk more about Rise Up October throughout the evening, but just so that you know, it is a series of actions planned to take place over October 22nd, October 23rd, and October 24th this fall. Now, a call was initiated by Carl Dix and Cornel West, and this call has been endorsed by a wide variety of people, including family members of almost 60 people killed by the police, activists, entertainers, faith leaders, academics, students, and so on and so forth. People such as Noam Chomsky, Alice Walker, Rabbi Michael Lerner, Herb Boyd, Eve Ensler, Cindy Sheehan, Benga Akin Akbe, Immortal Technique, Imam El-Hajj Talib Abdul Rashid, Dr. James H. Cone. The list and the names go on and on and on. Our speakers tonight will join Carl and Cornel in giving their brief, I said brief, perspectives on the call, Rise Up October, as well as the need to stop police terror now. And so real quickly, is Pastor Francois in the house? Okay, not yet. So whenever he comes, he'll give us that welcome. But in the meantime, the show must go on. So we're going to jump into our first speaker. Noche Diaz is as real as they come. He's as real as they come. And I'm going to tell you a little something about him. He is part of the New York City Revolution Club. All right? I love you, brother. Now, Noche is known among the people as a fighter for the emancipation of humanity, and to the NYPD as a leader to watch. In the next 6 weeks, Noche is scheduled for trial on serious misdemeanor charges, from leading the first New York City protest when Mike Brown was killed, for being in protest when Michael Brown's killer was not indicted, and for leading a protest across the Brooklyn Bridge for shutdown April 14th. Like I said, this brother is as real as they come. And so, friends, I invite you to join me in welcoming Noche Diaz.
All right. Spend the rest of this night trying to answer the charges in that introduction. Look, let me just say straight up, I have endorsed the call for Rise Up October, and the Revolution Club will be building for this from our perspective of getting society ready, preparing people, preparing a leadership corps to put an end to this system that is responsible for this. This has got to stop. This is why, we got these shirts on that say Bob Avakian speaks revolution, nothing less. We're talking about going up against these monsters and taking the system down while not becoming the monsters that we're fighting. Speaking of monsters, we're coming up on the 60-year anniversary of the lynching murder of Emmett Till. I remember when I heard Bob Avakian tell this story of Emmett Till when I was 15 years old. I had tears coming down my cheeks. When I heard about Mamie Till preparing her son to go down to Mississippi, and I heard the echoes of my own mother and my own family telling me how I have to walk the streets right here in New York, in the Bronx. And, to not be seen as a threat, to not be seen as a criminal or a thug. Or look at the echoes of this in Freddie Gray. Hunted down by the police in Baltimore, beaten to a point where he was killed for looking a police officer in the eye. And what about the other youth in Baltimore, growing up with boarded up buildings and foreclosed futures? Even the kids. A 5-year-old girl I met down there made bracelets for her grandmother to hand out in the neighborhood because she remembered Freddie Gray used to buy her ice cream and play with her, and she wanted people to know that she misses him. An 11-year-old kid had to be pulled into the administrative office to answer all kinds of questions and explain to them the reason he's with the Rev Club is because he's tired of seeing people beat and murdered by these pigs. Those are his words. Or what about just down the street? Youth I just talked to a week ago, 23 years old, talking about facing years in prison and having all the people he grew up with missing because they're locked down from raids that were carried out in the Manhattanville and Grant Homes and Manhattan Avenue, where over 100 people were swept up. Not one piece of evidence of any crime. No drugs, no weapons, no bodies. They all knew each other on Facebook. I even talked to a young woman who had an assault rifle pointed in her face when the police busted in looking for her brother, and since they couldn't find him, they dragged her away instead. The echoes carry forward. Speaking of women, I've talked to women in Baltimore who, talked about being arrested by police, not having any of the charges stick, but in order to be let loose, they had to agree to be gang raped by all the officers in the precinct. Another young guy I just talked to and from the South talked about every time he's driving and sees the police, he has to take off his hat, change the radio station, tuck in his shirt, and try not to look so black. Kid from the Bronx I just talked to about all this, and he was saying, I hate this. I know what they do. I know what it means. This is why I try my best to never have to leave my room. No, this is a veil of terror. This is a veil of terror that generations have been strangled and suffocated with. And this is what began to be dragged into the light when people began to rise up. Starting in Ferguson when the youth took to the streets and said, no, not this time, we're not going to take it anymore. And then spreading everywhere. All throughout society, people from other, who aren't facing this every day, standing with them, stepping out with them, saying this has got to stop. And we learn things about how people have to live in this great old US of A that they call. We learned that we don't even know literally don't know the half of how many people they kill every single year. The youth who cannot even walk the streets or be in their own homes without being free of this fear and this terror. This has got to be the mission of a generation to put a stop to this. Lines began to form in the ashes of the rebellions, and that needs to be taken to a whole other level in October, where which side are you on becomes the message all throughout society, and a whole generation begins to shake everything up and begin to show the kind of courage that Mamie Till had when she was showed the body of her son. And she refused to have it touched up, and she said to the world, you're gonna have to look at what they did to my son. The world is gonna have to look at what they are doing to our youth. And everyone is gonna have to face these faces and answer the question, which side are you on? So I now have the great honor and pleasure and responsibility of introducing someone who is a man of faith, a preacher who I hold very dear and close to my godless heart. He's a signer of the call to Rise Up October, a member of the Presbytery of New York. Join me in welcoming Reverend Phelps.
So I was told I had 8 minutes, and then I was told I had 4. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but we'll keep it short. We'll try to keep it short. Let me just time myself so I know what's going on. Three years ago, several clergy, about a dozen clergy, had an open time to meet with Ray Kelly in his massive offices there at One Police Plaza. And I was rather annoyed by my fellow clergy, the softballs they were lobbing at the commissioner. And at length I said to him, Commissioner, members of my church, members of my staff, I was then at the Riverside Church, are terrified to see your men in blue on the streets of this city. Just terrified. This degrades the whole social fabric. And he said, somebody's got to pay for safety in this city. Somebody's got to pay. Well, we got rid of him, but we did not get rid of police terrorism, right? So that's not exactly the solution. We're gathered here tonight partly to get concrete about what the call to stop police terror means, because just calling it all the time isn't going to stop it, is it? So we got to get concrete. Now look, between the call over here and violent revolution over here, we got to find exactly that point on the continuum where you can enter in and do something. And I'm going to talk to you now for a moment from the perspective of the great religious traditions. Because we're in a church, and I got a collar on, and I'm going to speak to that. Even though religion, God knows, has been complicit in all kinds of evils, especially in this nation, in many, many nations. All kinds of evils. We don't have to doubt that. All kinds of fantasies are in the minds of believers that lead them to believe and to do evil things. It happens. However, if you cut yourself off completely from the 5,000-year tradition of human wisdom, then you're out here all alone trying to invent it yourself. There are deep wells here, at sources that you can drink from. And many of you in the room know this. All of you, I think, know this in some way. So, let's take a look. One of the things that God says, according to the traditions, is that he hates brutality against the oppressed and the small and the weak and the vulnerable. I hate that. What's it mean if God hates that? Does that mean that we forgive and sit back and wait? I don't think so. Does it mean that vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, therefore we sit back and wait? I don't think so. Does it mean doom is coming? Sit back and wait for doom? I don't think so. No, I think there's only one thing we need to read into what God hates. God hates it. God hates it when people are shaken and refuse to wake up. God hates it when people are really shaken, and I don't mean by the hand of God in some magical way. You know what I'm talking about, shaken, and the people refuse to wake up. The people of America have been refusing to wake up since the day the Cristobal Colombo bumped up on one of the islands, started here, and started killing the natives. We have always been asleep. Now, some people say slavery is the original sin of America. I don't think that goes deep enough. I really don't. No, the original sin is the human sin of desiring something so much that you say, I will have that. By any means necessary, I will get that thing I want. This infects humans. Of course it does. And if they are asleep and they feel a desire for something and they take it, oh, they'll do anything to keep that, to get that thing. This is what has driven all the rapacity that now gets named global capitalism and turns up on our shores daily as police terrorism. They're all connected. And yes, it may be, as we know, that the doom of global warming is coming, but you see these links. You don't need the fancy word intersectionality to prove to you what the links are among all these evils. They have to do with unregulated desire in the heart. And so, here comes the basis of a political program to stop police terrorism. It must always focus on waking people up. Always. Whatever it's being done. The gathering, which side are you on? Was there ever a call more clear as to how to wake up? I'm at 5:30. So we are always seeking that. I think, did you know that Lyndon Johnson initiated the Kerner Commission in July, 18 months before the end of his service as president? Mr. Obama is approximately at 18 months before the end of his service of president. Obama could establish a National Advisory Commission on Police Brutality now, and the word would come back, and it would help raise the consciousness of the people. Whatever actions we take, they must be focused on waking people, because that is the only thing God hates, is when people are sleeping and are shaken and they turn it off and say, go away, I don't want to wake. Let us ourselves wake. Thank you.
Pastor Francois in the house. So everybody, please join me in welcoming the pastor of congregational care here at FCBC, Pastor Willie Francois III.
Good evening. Good evening. It is a joy to welcome you all to 1 Corinthian Baptist Church. It is always a signal honor when we can open this space to the real moral architects of America. People who are able to see through the smoke and see through the blood and the fire, to see and fight for a world that is feasible, a world where all people are free. That's why this is a sacred space, and I welcome you to this sacred space. And it is not sacred because of the name that is affixed on the outside. It is not sacred because of the symbols that surround me, but it is sacred because of the work of freedom and justice that it is committed to. Because in this place, we know that we cannot say Jesus without also saying justice simultaneously. So we welcome you to this space, this sacred space. It is sacred because of the work that it does. And so that is why it's important for you to be here today. Because the End Mass Incarceration Network and Dr. Cornel West and Dr. Davies, that is why this space is sacred, because we believe humanity is sacred. We're here today because I'm surrounded. These who are gone too soon, these whose lives are sacred, whose names are sacred, just as sacred as we say Moses and Elijah and Sarah and Rebecca. These names are just as sacred as those. And so we welcome you to this place, a sacred place, not because of the cross and not because it is called a church, but a place that is sacred because you are here today. And the divinity that is in you, and the power that is in you, and the sacredness that is in you will now add another flame to this movement to end mass incarceration, because we know police brutality and policing is the front door of mass incarceration. And so we're here today to shut the front door on mass incarceration. We're here today to unravel the threads of hurts that so many families have experienced. And we hope today that Dr. West and Mr. Davey, we hope today that the work that we do here will 5 years from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, we can work ourselves out of necessity, because we are people of vision, we are people of hope, and we are people of freedom. So all of the moral architects in this place today, celebrate yourselves for standing for justice. Celebrate yourselves for standing for peace. Celebrate yourself for standing for freedom in the face of ugliness, hatred, and brutality. I close with this. God tells us, well, the word tells us, and they put these words in the mouth of the prophet Micah, that God requires us to do justice and to love mercy and to walk humbly with God. And I've learned recently that that word require, we've softened it a little bit. We've diluted it a little bit, because it's not simply that God wants us to do it or God is requiring us to do it, but literally it means that God yearns for us to do justice. God thirsts for us to do justice. God hungers for us to do justice. And I say with lament in my heart that we have starved God for too long. We have dehydrated God for too long. But today we're here with Mr. Davey and Dr. West to give God a drink and to allow God to feast on our work in this place today. Welcome to FCBC. We love you and we hope to see you very soon.
Thank you, Pastor Francois, for that great welcome. We thank you, the entire ministerial team here at SCBC, your assistant, Sharon Spence, ushers, staff, volunteers, and the entire FCBC family. Thank you again for hosting us tonight. Okay, I have a couple quick announcements. Friends, you'll see on your seats that you each have received a packet. This packet is an invaluable resource. It talks about the call. It gives you information about upcoming events. Use this packet. Now, I want to draw your attention to our next meeting that will take place this Sunday at 6 p.m. Okay? You can find information about it within the packet. It takes place at West Park Presbyterian Church at 86th Street and Amsterdam Avenue. All are welcome to come and play a part in this effort. The other quick announcement I want to make is just to remind our speakers to keep your comments brief. And if you need a reminder, right here up front, we have a time keeper. So they're there to help you and to support you. I just do as I'm told. Jamal Joseph, writer. Let's give it up. Jamal Joseph, writer, director, producer, poet, activist, educator, is a lifelong freedom fighter. Lifelong. He was a member of the Black Panther Party and the Black Liberation Army. He was prosecuted as one of the Panther 21. This brother's the real deal, the real deal. Now, currently, he is the founder and artistic director of Impact, a Harlem-based youth theater company. He is also a professor at Columbia University. Lastly, he is a member of First Corinthian Baptist Church. So join me in giving a hometown welcome to Professor Jamal Joseph.
Power to the people, brothers and sisters. And let's be clear, when the Panthers would say power to the people, they would then go on to explain that that means black power for black people. That it means white power for white people. Brown power for brown people. Red power for red people. Yellow power for yellow people. And revolutionary power to all freedom fighters. Dr. Cornel West, Professor Carl Dix. I say that because this brother is a professor of revolutionary struggle and commitment. We thank these brothers for being on the forefront of building this movement of mass resistance that we must have, but also understanding the value of building a coalition so that when we look around, it looks like all power to all the people like we have here tonight. If we have any ESPN fans in the house, you ever saw their documentary series 30 by 30? You all know those great sports doc? Applaud if you've seen that. You know, they deal with sports and they deal with all that. So as a filmmaker, I'm thinking for Cornell and Carl, we should do something called 60 for 60. Brothers in their 60s bringing back the spirit of the 60s. Okay, I teach film at Columbia. I'm a full professor there. So that's my area. But allow me just to do a little history. I want to read something from the New York Times. A state judge yesterday dismissed a manslaughter indictment against a police officer who killed a woman with 2 shotgun blasts after being called in her apartment for a dispute. The judge, acting Justice Vincent A. Vitale of State Supreme Court, ruled the evidence was legally insufficient to indict the officer, Stephen Sullivan, for manslaughter and any other offense in the death of the woman, a black woman, a grandmother, Eleanor Bumpers. After reviewing testimony from a grand jury voted an indictment in September for second-degree manslaughter, Justice Vitale said the officer, Sullivan, followed existing police department guidelines when he fired twice at the 66-year-old Bumpers. In other words, there was an indictment that he threw out. Allegedly, she attacked him with a kitchen knife. I want to read ahead. In an interview yesterday after the ruling, the officer said, "I'm very happy, very ecstatic." Asked if under similar circumstances he would again shoot, he replied, "Yes, I would." The date of this is April 13th, 1985. In 1973, a 10-year-old boy named Clifford Glover was shot to death by police for carrying what they believed was a gun. It was an Afro pick. And if we go back a little bit further, August 1943, right here in Harlem, a brother coming home from World War II was shot to death by a white police officer. And Harlem rioted for 2 days. The history lesson is to say that nothing has changed in terms of state violence and state terror. There has been resistance, and of course we think about Deacons for Defense and we think about the Black Panther Party, policing the police, but nothing has changed in the way that our black and brown boys, men and women, in this case our grandmothers, our girls being slammed on the ground with no respect for the humanity. Well, this infers that we're dealing with a state that considers us to be human, brothers and sisters. Human beings do not treat other human beings like dogs. Slavery, which built this country, built it because it was free labor. And people got rich. They got rich off the slave trade. Lloyds of London made their first millions from the slave trade. The first stock traded was usually the Union stock on slave trade. But there was a marketing strategy, because if you can picture slaves behind me and picture me as a white merchant trying to sell slaves, I looked out often at people who called themselves Christian, and they had problems with the idea of slavery because some passages of the Bible said you shouldn't enslave another human being. And the marketing strategy was simply this: men and women of good Christian faith, I believe in the good book as well. I'm a Christian, and I know what it says about slavery. But I'm saying to you that these black bodies that you see behind you, these Africans, these niggers, are not human. So owning them is no more a crime than it is owning a horse or a cow or a chicken. And so this idea that we are property is something that we have to wrestle with, the ideology. The idea that lives are not valued, the idea that this state justice is here because police are not here to protect us, they're here to protect property. And so we have to engage this idea of challenging that notion. We have to engage this idea, this insanity that makes the young men and the young women in this room at risk when they step outside of the door. It is insane. It is crazy. We are in an insane asylum. But here's what we're saying. On October 22nd and 24th, the inmates are about to take over to the asylum. Sweeping and dynamic change is going to come. Because from this night we spread forward and we show the police, we show the state, we show state violence that we are human, that we indeed have, brothers and sisters, all power to the people.
Friends, I'd like to draw your attention to the registration form in your packets. I'd kindly ask that each of you fill it out and please return it to an usher. Thank you very much. I have admired our next speaker for quite some time. Marsha Coleman-Abedayo talks the talk and she walks the walk. She was a senior policy analyst in the Office of the Administrator at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, where, get this, where she became a whistleblower against discrimination by the U.S. government. She talks the talk and walks the walk. Currently, she is a leader of Washington, D.C.'s Hands Up Coalition. She also writes for the indispensable Black Agenda Report. Friends, Marsha Coleman-Abedayo.
Power to the people. I am so happy to be here. This is a wonderful spiritual moment for all of us to recommit to our fight for justice. And I'd like to also thank two colleagues who are here with me today. The managing editor of Black Agenda Report, Glenn Ford. And a powerful sister, Nellie Bailey. And I'd like to tell you why I am supporting Rise Up October. You see, I am the mother of a son who has been stopped by police over 30 times. That means my son's life has been threatened over 30 times. He has been terrorized by the police in the Washington, D.C. area. He has suffered severe depression and anxiety. You see, I am every Black mother because I don't know a Black mother whose son has not been terrorized by police. And you know, I don't even think we have the right to call ourselves mothers if we don't stand up and protect our children. I don't think we have the right to call ourselves fathers unless we stand up and protect our children. So we have recently organized a mothers organization, Mothers Against Police Violence, because not only are our children in Washington, D.C. being murdered and harassed, they're also being sexually abused in Washington, D.C. So we, as parents, need to stand up and say, you're either going to take us out or you're going to stop harassing our children. But you've got to take a choice because it cannot be both. The mayor of Washington, D.C., 2 days ago announced that under a new program, it's really a pretext because of a rising crime rate in Washington, D.C., she's going to hire 500 more police. Now you have to understand, she didn't say she was going to create 500 new jobs. No, what she's doing is she's putting in place a structure to kill and to incarcerate and to terrorize our children. And so in the streets of Washington, yesterday and today, we have been in the streets protesting this program. But it gets worse. The program will allow police to search the homes of ex-offenders. And in the Washington, D.C., 1 out of every 5 black guys are ex-offenders, which means that all black men in Washington, D.C. essentially will be covered under this law. So once you are labeled an offender, you are always an offender. There is never an X before your name. So this program will amount to the reactivation of the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850. But instead, it will be the Fugitive Slave Act of 2015. So brothers and sisters, if this goes down in DC, next will be New York, and then Detroit. You've got it. So they mentioned that I write and I'm an editor for Black Agenda Report. And this week in BAR, we are running an interview with Carl Dix. It's actually an interview that I conducted with Carl Dix. And I need for everyone here to please read this interview. You will learn a great deal, not only about Carl, but also the issues that we are fighting right now. So I ask all of you to please go to blackagendareport.com. Please tweet it, love it, whatever you're going to do with it, but send it out to everyone you know. Power to the people.
So tonight's event would not be possible without the hard work of countless individuals, and I just want to acknowledge a few people. But first, I want to give a big thank you to Free Speech TV and Deep Dish TV for putting on our audiovisual as well as our live stream. Thank you. I also want to thank the countless volunteers connected with the Stop Mass Incarceration Network, the Revolutionary Communist Party, and so on, who showered this city with palm cards, promoted this event, set up, their ushers, set up the books table up front, the countless volunteers who worked hard in humble service to make this event possible. Let's give them a round of applause. Lastly, I want to give a special quick thank you and shout out to Deborah Sweet. She is the director of World Can't Wait, and she essentially has been the showrunner of this entire event. Thank you, Deborah. It is indeed a great pleasure to have Gina Belafonte in the house. She is the co-director of Sankofa, a social justice organization that enlists celebrity artists and grassroots partners to elevate the voices of the disenfranchised and to promote equality. And of course, she comes from a family of prophetic freedom fighters. And so please join me in welcoming Gina Belafonte.
Good evening. My name is Gina Belafonte, and I'm a human being. While I come from a legacy of freedom fighters, it's a legacy not only that I carry, but that I share with everyone in this room. I want to take a brief moment to acknowledge the ancestors that came before us, that have paved the way for us to continue and give us the courage for us to be here. And in that moment, I would also like to acknowledge these men and women that are before us on this stage, and those that are not drawn or photographed here, because there are many more. So can we please actually raise our heads and close our eyes for just a moment of silence? Can we all take an inhale of a collective breath? While I come from a family that is rich and multicultural, I am unapologetically black. I am unapologetically black. I'm unapologetically what? Unapologetically? 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 We ready. We coming. We ready. We coming. Unapologetically? 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 We ready. We coming. We ready. We coming. Unapologetically black. Unapologetically black. Unapologetically black. Unapologetically black. We ready. We coming. We ready. We coming. Are we ready? Are we coming? Are we rising up in October? Whose side are you on? You really need to take a look in the mirror and make a very clear and precise choice. You need to educate yourselves on how to prepare yourselves for this moment. I'm going to get emotional because I went down to Ferguson. I went on the front lines of Ferguson. I was not prepared. I was not prepared. It's no joke. They think it's a game. They think it's a joke. We need to prepare ourselves for this moment. We need to be able to truthfully look into each other's eyes and see another human being there. We need to uplift and shine a light on the most marginalized. Our transgender and gay women. Black, transgender, and gay women are the most marginalized in this space. Say their names. We need to somehow figure out a way for all of us to deeply understand that as human beings, as long as we are not hurting anyone else, we need to allow ourselves to be all that we choose to be. I want to thank you all for allowing me this time and for helping me, to guide me in this struggle, to help me carry on this legacy. It is all of our legacy that we're carrying on. I support Rise Up October. I've been working very closely with the Gathering for Justice and the Justice League around the marginalizations of our black and brown young men and women who are incarcerated in our juvenile detention centers, in our solitary confinement spaces. This has got to stop. I'm unapologetically.
All right. Power to the people. Right on. So those of you in the building tonight have noticed me running up and down these steps all night. I'm out of shape. No, that's a joke. Thankfully, I have a co-host to help me out. All a joke. Let's go, y'all. Help me out here. I am not a comedian. Okay. My co-host for this evening is Kimberly Diaz, a native New Yorker. She graduated from LaGuardia High School and Baruch College. After living in San Diego for a few years, she came back to New York City and is now a volunteer with New York Cares and the Stop Mass Incarceration Network. She is on a personal journey to figure out how to combine her passions for social justice, service, and community. Please, let's give a warm welcome for Kimberly Diaz.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Good evening, and thank you everyone for being here tonight. I'd like everyone, please, to take a few moments. When you came in, you were handed a rolled up poster called the Stolen Lives poster. Can you please open that up and take a look at that for me? Thank you so much. Now, as you see on that poster are the names and photos of just a small portion of lives that have been stolen across this country for many years. Next, I'd like you to please do me a favor and lift up those posters. Lift them up in the air. Thank you. Thank you. This is to symbolically lift up the names and the lives of these beautiful souls that are no longer with us. They're no longer with us because their lives were stolen by police terror and police murder. You can put them down now. Thank you so much. Now, as you looked over those posters, I'm sure you noticed that some of the names and dates that are there are from a long time ago. As many of the other speakers have mentioned, this isn't something new. This isn't something that started just last year with the murder of Michael Brown. This is something that has been going on for entirely too long, for longer than I've even been alive. And this tonight is a declaration that we're all going to join together and make sure that it stops once and for all. October 24th will be an even bigger gathering to show that this must stop once and for all. In 1994, Anthony Baez was killed by police. In 1999, Amadou Diallo was killed by police. In 2000, Malcolm Ferguson was killed by police. These young men were all from the Bronx, the borough that I grew up in, that I was raised in. The X for life. And it's disheartening to know that in 2015, it still carries on, it still continues. and it hasn't slowed down and it hasn't stopped. We have here on stage with us family members who have all lost someone to police murder. I'd like to invite each of them up individually to speak, to tell you about their experience and why Rise Up October is so important to them. The first parent I'd like to invite up is Miss Juanita Young, the mother of Malcolm Ferguson.
No justice. No justice. What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? Thank you. But that's not loud enough because I'm still trying to get Rivera for the murder of my son. On March 1st of 2000, my son Malcolm Ferguson was murdered in the Bronx by police officer Louis Rivera. He literally blew my son's brains out. After the DA, Robert Johnson, refused to indict this cop, I took the case to civil court. In civil court, my attorney, Seth Harris, was able to get Louis Rivera to admit what really happened. According to Rivera, he murdered Malcolm for no reason. When you ask, why did you shoot him, he don't know. But why is this man still out on the street today? That's why I have to keep asking for justice. Because there is no way this man is still able to walk and be a police officer, and I have to live and cry every day because I can't touch, see, or hear my son. My family is destroyed by the loss of their brother. After 15 years of helping so many other families to deal with the pain of losing a loved one, watching this system allow these low-lifted police officers, because you can't tell me there's no good cop, bad cop. Because when you stand by and allow that other cop to do harm to another person, you're just as guilty as that cop that put that bullet in his head. I don't go for good cop, bad cop. I stand up here today and tell you, I'm going to stand for these 275 faces that's been murdered here in New York alone. That's why we need to rise up for October. We need to let the people know we had enough. We had enough of y'all coming in to our community, destroying families. We had enough of nobody paying attention. These politicians, these presidents don't give a damn, excuse my language, about us. Because why? That's why these 275 cases, not one of them got any justice. Why? Because of the people that's protecting them. All of us sitting here today need to grab another 500 people and let's flood New York on October 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. Thank you.
I'll ask you to look at the poster one more time if you still have it open. On the poster, there is a photo there, if you can find it, of a young girl named Ayanna Stanley-Jones. Ayanna was 7 years old when her light was stolen by cops in Detroit, Michigan, when they raided her grandmother's home, all while filming a documentary series. This was back in May of 2010. The officer who killed Ayanna was never convicted of a crime, and her grandmother, Miss Martilla Jones, has been speaking out on this injustice from the moment Ayanna died in her arms. She joined the Rise Up October tour in Cleveland, Chicago, and Ferguson, Missouri. Please welcome me in introducing Miss Martilla Jones.
Hello. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. My name is Martilla Jones.
Ayana right here. Go ahead, talk.
Yeah, I'm a big girl.
You know that. Go ahead. Let's talk about this.
Juanita, this is my sister. My other sister, Andre, couldn't make it tonight, so her daughter, Johnson, she holding my back. Joshua, I don't know where you at. I know you out there somewhere. I got a lot of people holding my back tonight. But my 7-year-old granddaughter, Ayanna Stanley-Jones, was murdered May 16, 2010 by Detroit police SWAT team member Joseph Weekly. I know I don't have enough time to go into everything that happened, but like I said, if you Google Ayanna's name, you'll find out that Joseph Weekly, his name is the brain, because he's the head of the, well, he was the head of the SWAT team for Detroit, Michigan, because he's the first one in.
Let me tell you the problem here. I went to Detroit when Ayanna Jones was murdered. This is the grandmother that was laying on the couch with Ayanna. They were asleep when the cops came there, supposed to be looking for some young man. They threw a grenade through the window. In the midst of them throwing the grenade through the window, the police officer shot his gun. Now you imagine you sleeping on the couch with your grandbaby and you so helpless. The cop literally shot little 7-year-old Ayanna Jones, then turned around and arrested this woman, and they had her in jail for 8 hours, questioning her, trying to say that she made the cop shoot Ayanna. They just took this case to trial. The judge went after the grandmother, told the grandmother she better not get up on that stand and show no emotion. She better not show nothing, no feelings, no nothing. How dare he? This woman cannot close her eyes without seeing and what that officer did to Ayanna. You see the state she's in? This is the first time I've been up on stage with this grandmother, but I've been talking to her and following with her. And this is why we need people to try to say, which side are you on? How much more do we have to take?
I'm riding. I'm riding. Because I want to see what side people are on. Ayanna's 7 years old, sleeping. They came in and automatically blew my granddaughter's brains out in front of me. Like I said, I seen the life and light leave out of Ayanna's eyes. I've never seen anything like this in my life. I don't care how ghetto they say I am, how hood they say I am. I've never seen nothing like that in my life, and I hope to never see it again. And I shouldn't have had to see it in my 7-year-old sleeping beauty. I've traveled all the way from Detroit, Michigan to ask everybody, which side are you on? It's been 5 years since Ayanna was murdered. Ayanna gets no justice, no peace in Detroit, Michigan. Nobody acknowledges my granddaughter. They came back a year later and arrested my son, her dad. Stop the mass incarceration as well. I need him out here to raise his 6 surviving sons. Ayanna was his only girl. Joseph Weekly, he has 2 daughters. He's going to get the chance to see his daughters go to prom, walk them down the aisle. My son would never get that chance because Ayanna was his only daughter. So I'm asking everybody to take a side in this Stop the mass incarceration, police brutality, because it's not only the killings, it's the beatings, it's the tasings. I mean, it's not only here in New York. Detroit, they don't do nothing. They don't even recognize my grandbaby. She get more love from all of y'all than anywhere else. You know, she get more love from other cities and states, even other countries, than she get from Detroit, Michigan, where she was born, where she was raised, where she was murdered by a man named Joseph the Brain Weekly, a police officer that's supposed to protect and serve her. Then they came around a year later, like I said, and took her daddy, my son, Charles Jones, and locked him up to where he can't raise his 6 sons. I got to help do it. I raised my children. I got 8 kids, well, babies. 2 women, 6 men. I raised my children. I should not have to raise my grandchildren. All right, I heard you. All right. All right, love y'all too.
Thank you so much, Myrtilla, for sharing your story with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Our next speaker is also a grandmother. She's traveled all the way from Madison, Wisconsin, to be with us today to tell us of her experience. Her grandson, Tony Robinson's life was stolen less than 6 months ago. He was only 18, unarmed, and in his own home. The police officer who pushed his way into the apartment where Tony was not indicted. Today, we have his grandmother. I'm sorry, I'm trying not. We have his grandmother, Sharon, and his Aunt Lorian here with us today to speak to us and tell us their story.
Put him out front. This is my grandson. He was 19. He's young. He is black. And he is beautiful. And I am here to tell you that they took his life with 7 bullets. He shot him 3 times, dropped his flashlight, picked it up, shot him 3 more times, looked at him, and shot him again. My boy was unarmed, and nothing he did was deserved for that. And we suffer. I'm looking at all these people, and we're the human side of this. We suffer. I cry every day. I have to go through hundreds of pages of evidence because they didn't indict him. They said, no, he didn't do anything wrong. And I say to you, if you lie to justify your actions, are they justifiable? No. And he lied, and the Madison police lied, and the DA lied, and they disgraced my family. They made us the victim, not the victims, but the criminal. They made my grandson a criminal that he's not. And I'm telling you, I'm tired. And I'm not standing for this anymore. We are one people. We are the human race, but they are targeting black folks. I'm sorry. I get a little emotional. They are wrong. I feel this every day. My daughter feels this every day. All my grandchildren feel this day. And yes, I am from a rich and multicultural family. But like she said, what did she say?
I am unapologetically black. This is my mother. The reason why Rise Up October is so important is because there ain't enough room in this church for all of the names. The reason why Rise Up October is so important because in Madison, Wisconsin, we are the #1 worst place for minorities to live and the #3 happiest place in the country. We are the number one city in the entire country for minority youth incarceration. That means 18 and under. Our population of jail consists of 3/4 black children. Meanwhile, our population outside consists of 8% black people. The truths that they are providing to you are not truths at all. The reason why Rise Up October is so important is because I neglected the facts, and because of it, my nephew has paid. Because it could be any one of you. And if it makes you uncomfortable, I'm glad. It should. The blood of all of these people stains your hands the same way that it does mine. My nephew, yes, he was biracial. That means you, sir, it could be your nephew. Or you, it could be your grandchild. This is no longer polarized. This is no longer polarized.
We have, as a people, been taught to stay divided because they can control us easier. Hey, if we stood up, there's 7 billion of us. If we stood up, what could anybody do? It is time to wake up. It is time to see we are not different. We are a people with different cultures and different ways to live, but we are human. And it is time.
All power to the people.
Our next family member to speak is the mother of a young man, Justice Howell, who was killed while he was running away from the police. The coroner who performed his autopsy ruled his death a homicide. The prosecutors in Zion, Illinois, did not do right by their community. They said that it was justifiable, and the officer was charged for nothing. Please welcome me in introducing Justice Howell's mother, LaToya.
I want y'all to be aware of the realness of this tragedy. Every time I come up before all of y'all, I don't know what to say, but the words start to flow through me. Every time I look at a young face, I see my son and think about his demise. Every time I see little boys, I shed a tear because I know that one day they can grow up and be killed, taken from you. That means all of your teaching, everything you told him not to do, everything he knew not to do, everything he was, it was going to be, was stolen from him. Yes. And it's all to unqualified, racist coward police. It ain't right. It's not right, and it's not enough. I can't stress this enough. It's not enough to just press like on your Facebook status. It's not enough to just tell somebody, oh, did you hear about so-and-so? They got killed by the police. I'm gonna need y'all to start saying, but guess what's next? We're gonna rise up together as one and fight it together. Otherwise, that face that you see passing on the streets could look like your boy. It could look like your granddaughter, your daughter, and you could walk around feeling like something was snatched from you. Y'all know what, when I heard it, y'all know, have y'all ever felt scared and just knew something was wrong? Then y'all took that breath and said, woo, I'm glad that wasn't mine. I never got that chance to breathe. I never had that exhale. That was my boy laying dead in the street. They didn't even let me go back to see him. They wouldn't let me in the hospital. They told me repeatedly that he wasn't at the hospital, that wasn't my son. But it damn sure was, y'all. And that could be yours. You could be here just like me if you don't stand up, tell the next person that y'all don't want no more of this. The terror has to stop. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. Because I know you heard it before. If looks could kill, you will be a Uzi. If looks could kill, you will be the bomb. Guess what, y'all? Looks are killing our kids. The way they look can get them killed. So I ask y'all today, which side are you on? Will you stand by the way and watch another kid get gunned down, beaten, another woman get raped? Would you stand by and just act like it ain't happening? I ask you today to stand up and choose your side. Power to the people. It's power in numbers. Put your fist in the air. Power to the people, y'all. Rise up. Rise up October. Thank you.
I'm going to ask for Miss Juanita Young to introduce our last family member to speak for the evening, for tonight. Here you go, Miss.
You look up on this stage, what do you see? Mothers. Mothers. I had to take one of these fathers and make him half man and half mother. Because it's not too many men out here that you see fight for the loved one that they lost. The 15 years I've been out here, I met Nicholas Haywood in 2000. And I watched this man as he stood up and went up against whatever it took to get his message out. I'm like, what? I don't see too many men doing that. I'm honored to stand here and give you Nicholas Haywood.
Good evening, everyone. I am honored to be here. I am also honored that this event is being held by the most powerful Cornel West and Carl Dix. Rise Up October is something that should have been done many, many, many Octobers ago. My son was killed. I use the word killed, but I really like to say murdered. Whenever you shoot and kill someone who's unarmed, committing no crimes, no threat to anyone, and you shoot and you kill that person, that's murder, in my book. Nicholas was a 13-year-old honor student who was killed. Yesterday, August 26th, he would have been 34. Yesterday was a very painful day for me. I cried just about half the whole day. I made calls to my other son who's in Georgia. He's kind of busy, he ain't even give me a call back. But the reality is that Nicholas Jr. is no longer here because of a cowardly cop who shot and killed him while he was playing with his friends, an innocent game of cops and robbers, with plastic toy guns that looked at nothing like a real gun. They were all colorful guns, and none of them looked close to a real gun. Telling this story over and over and over the last 21 years, making pleas to elected officials to really take a good look into this case and reopen this case. I made many pleas to Charles Hines when he was in office to reopen this case, because in the deposition that was done on the officer contradicted all of the reasons and findings for closing the case. They stated that the officer was on a 911 call and that things happened in a split second, that the stairwell lighting was dimly lit. In the deposition that was done on the officer said no, the stairwell lighting was not dimly lit, he was not on a 911 call, and that things didn't happen in a split second. The statement that this officer made was just, it was beyond belief. He said that when he opened up the stairwell door, no one was there, and that my son jumped down from the stairs in front of him. He said then he jumped back up the steps, then he jumped back down the steps, then he pointed the plastic toy gun and started clicking it at him, and then he said that's when he shot him. That is something that my son would have never, ever even thought to do. I want to tell you that a year before Nicholas was murdered, he was kidnapped from me. We were standing in front of our housing building when officers came running into the community chasing some youth. They tackled one of the youth in front of us. We had a dog, the dog started barking, the officer pulled out his gun and said, "Get your dog off and shoot him." I grabbed the dog, I brought him in the house, I came back outside. Me, Nicholas, and my wife at the time and my sister was standing there, and the officer comes back over to us, pulls out his gun and points it in Nicholas' face. He's going to arrest my son. I started out, "No, that's my son, he didn't do anything wrong, what are you doing?" He don't say anything, he just turns to me and points the gun at me and tells me to mind my business. Then he takes my son over to where he had all the other kids laying down. I goes over to the sergeant who I see, and I say, "Excuse me, that's my son, he didn't do anything, he was with me. And we watched y'all as y'all was running and chasing these other children." He said he didn't know what was going on. They picked my son up and they brought him down to the precinct. My son was in the precinct for about a good hour before they brought him down. When they brought him down, he literally tried to run out the door. I had to stop him. I said, "Wait a minute, where you going? Wait. Daddy, I want to go home. Daddy, I want to go home." Excuse me. I said, "We're going to go home. Just tell me what happened when you was upstairs, son." He said, "Daddy, I kept telling them that I didn't do anything. I didn't do nothing, Daddy. They put me in the lineup." And he said the officer told him that if he don't shut his mouth, he's going to stick this gun up his butt and pull the trigger. The other officer, he tells me, told him that he wouldn't live to be 15. I went and I filed a complaint against the officers' Civilian Complaint Review Board. I didn't get a response back until a year and a half later after Nicholas was murdered. In the complaint, after they reviewed, they say they found the officer's actions to be lawful and proper. That in itself is why I'm saying Nicholas would have never did what this officer said he did, jump back and down, the steps and then pointed this plastic toy gun at him. That is something that is, unreal. One last thing I want to say. In my years of fighting to get this case reopened, I finally got a call from the DA yesterday, and they are willing for me. They set up a meeting, told me I could come to the DA's office on Tuesday and talk to them and show them, the deposition and everything which contradicts the reasons and findings from Charles Hines, the prior DA, from closing the case. So. But the struggle and the fight is not over.
Thank you, brother. I just want to acknowledge and thank all of you here for being so respectful to these families. We want to thank you all for sharing of yourselves during this time. Thank you so much. We have one more family member who wants to share. We have one more family member who wants to share, and I'm going to call her forth now.
Good evening, everyone. I'm happy to be here, and I would like to share my story. I've been following with Juanita Young, Carl Dix, and Mr. West. I've been coming out on all the events and trying to get the help that I need for my son. My son's name is Corey Mickens, and he was killed right here in Manhattan, March 13, 2007. And he was murdered while he was sitting in a restaurant eating, and he was shot 12 times, but they try to say he had a gun, and that's the reason why they shot him. But turned out my son, autopsy that the family done, turned out he didn't have a gun, and he's the person that murdered my son. His name is Robert Tahaja. And Robert Tahaja is the same officer that was involved in shooting the officer in Manhattan. His name was Omar Edwards. And I'm still on the fight for justice for my son. And I'm not going to give up the struggle or the fight. And I would like everyone here to understand that I'm going to be out here fighting for the justice for all, and my son also. And please don't give up the fight. And everybody, I really don't know what to say much, but I'm still out here for the fight justice for my son. I haven't got anything, but the story with my son is so long, I really couldn't go into it all, but it's a lot of stuff behind everything with my son, but I'm still out here for the fight for my son. And thank you.
What she didn't tell you was the cop who murdered her son, his father was the owner of a restaurant here in Harlem. The cop shot himself in the ankle. He blamed her son. They never took the bullet out the cop's ankle to show that he shot himself. And no lawyer in New York will touch her case. We have tried through the years to get a lawyer to pick up her case. The way they got that case we can't get a lawyer to touch her case. But I come back up here to stand and ask you, they got a call out for people to help bring other families here for the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. If it's any way possible, you can help bring some more families to New York for October 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. Please do. I'm coming to you as a mother, as a family member. And we as families up here ask you to stand with us and those of us who want to be with us to allow them to come here. Once again, I want to say thank you.
Join me in saluting these amazingly strong and loving family members here. Thank you all. Thank you all. Carl Dix and Cornel West are almost about to speak. But before they do, I'd like to introduce the Reverend Jerome McCory. Reverend McCory is a civil rights leader. He is one of the faith coordinators of the Rise Up October initiative, and he is a leader in the Stop Mass Incarceration Network. And he and his wife have come all the way out here from Dayton, Ohio. Please, let's give it up for Reverend Jerome McCory.
Thank you so much, brother. There is a reason why you are here tonight. There is a reason why all of us are here. We are here because if you are in fact not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. If you are not a part of the solution, you are a part of the problem. If you are not a part of the solution, you are a part of the problem. While we were in Ferguson doing the national tour, they have an acting chief of police who happens to be an African American. We had just finished a press conference across the street from the police department there in Ferguson. And there were a group of mothers whose sons had been victimized by the police who were roasting a pig. Now, I had said I wasn't going to eat no more pork. But they had written the name Darren Wilson, the officer who killed Michael Brown, on the skin of the pig, and I could not resist myself. Allow me to confess, I ate some pig that day. It is time that we begin to identify what role we're going to play. But that chief of police, that acting chief of police, walked over to me after I spoke at the press conference, and he said real softly in my ear, "You may not believe this, Reverend, but I'm really on y'all's side." Well, he was right. I didn't believe him then, and I don't believe him now. And I say that because if you'll allow me just for 30 seconds to be a man of faith, there is a story that I remember they taught me when I was in seminary. I don't remember everything, but I remember a story or two. It was about a prophet, and if there's anything missing in the religious community, Reverend Phelps, it's we lack prophet preachers. We got a whole lot of folk that talk smack. We got a whole lot of folk that do a lot of things, but we lack prophet preachers. Well, there was a man they told me about in biblical times named Ahab. And they said Ahab challenged the order of the day. 450 prophets of Baal. He said, I'm going to let y'all go first. Y'all call on Baal. I'll go when you get finished. And I'll call on God, and the one that answered by fire, let him be God. You biblical scholars know that story. But here's the part that often gets overlooked, and it takes a prophetic word to understand it. After the 450 had gone and prayed for a good long time, Ahab stood up by himself. And he said, now I'm going to do something different. But the first thing he did was he tore down the old altar. What I'm trying to say is some of y'all want to fix the police by becoming the police. You can't fix policing until you destroy the altar. Somebody ought to say it with me. Solution, revolution. Solution, revolution. Solution, it's a system. And you've got to destroy the old system. You can't just keep adding new garment or new cloth to an old wine sack. You got to change some stuff. And that's what this move is about. So tonight, Brother Will Reese is here with me, and we've come because we've decided we want to be true to the cause. We don't just want to honor with a bunch of lip service. They taught me when I was ordained you had to really serve in three ways: your time, your talent, and your tithe. Some of us don't want to pay to play. We just want to play. When you look at these family members, do me a favor, just stand up and face the audience for me. Would you do that? Let's give them a hand. We have put an unfair burden on these families. They travel on their own dime. They tell their stories. The truth of the matter is, if you'll allow me to be real honest with you, I'm going to tell you something. It's the church that faces some condemnation. We don't lift money to pay nobody's funeral. We don't put folks on planes to get them to where their loved ones are, unless you're a member in good standing. There is a role that all of us must play tonight to help these families on this tour, to help these families to get back here on October the 22nd through the 24th, to get the family of John Crawford III from Beaver Creek, Ohio, shot dead in a Walmart store holding a product that Walmart sells, and y'all still happy to go get in line at Walmart. It's a broken system, y'all, and we have a role in it. Families like the family of Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old Clevelander with a toy gun, playing in a park by himself while the police ride down like renegades and kick over car doors and shoot him dead. These families have to travel, and they've been doing it at their own expense. We have to take that burden off of them. They shouldn't worry where the next meal's coming from. They shouldn't be concerned about where they're going to stay when they travel. We now have a goal, the Stop Mass Incarceration Network, of bringing more than 100 family representatives to New York in October, and we gonna get them here. But we need your help in order to make that happen. That's where our offering goes to. I tell folk oftentimes in church, those are the ones that don't invite me back twice, that we take up offerings and we don't never know where the money went. Well, you get an opportunity to see your dime in action, because you're going to be here for October. If you're going to be here October 24th, put your hand together. Just those going to be here. Come on, come on, come on. Come on here. And so it is with that same hand that you clap that I'm going to ask you to reach down deep and do what's necessary to support this movement as you never have supported it before. Now, there's somebody in the audience, and I'm not going to stand up here and pretend that my prophecy just kicked in and I know who you are. I'll be telling a lie, y'all, and I don't want to do that. But there's somebody here with that $500 gift, and you've been itching for the offering time so you can hurry up and get rid of it before either your wife or your husband find out you're getting ready to give it. This is your time. This is your time. Checks can be made out if you have a program. Look at the back of your program. It tells you who to make your checks payable to. And by the way, all of your contributions are tax deductible. We need that person who has that $500 gift. You don't even have to move. Just stand up, and I want to send a family member to come get that $500 gift. One of the family members. We want you to see where your funds are going and who they're going to help. Where's that person with that $500 gift? Come on, get up on your feet. I know you're here. Oh, yeah.
I want to talk to you for a minute. I want to tell you a story. Why you're thinking about this $500. You've seen this poster. You have it in your hand. 2 weeks ago, I was standing in an enlargement, in front of an enlargement of this poster. It was this high. And there was a kid who was about the same height as the poster, standing affixed in front of that poster. So I walked over to him and I said, "You know what this is about, don't you?" He didn't look up. And he shook his head, "Yeah." I said, "So you think about this?" He said, "Yeah, I do." He said, the police kill people. And then he said, did they kill the little girl too? It was Ayanna Stanley-Jones. And I told him the story of Ayanna Stanley-Jones. And I said, so what do you think? He says, I think the police are killing everybody. And then I asked him, how old are you? He said, I'm 7. The Reverend just said that everybody can reach deep in here. And some people tonight have talked about it stops here. It begins here. It begins here. And there are people across this country who are listening to what we do here today. There are people who are watching what we do. And from this point forward, things have to be different. And I'm going to ask you, as you're thinking about whether you can do $500, what do you tell that 7-year-old? What do you I'm not going to tell you what I told him. What do you tell him? It's going to be all right, baby. It's going to be all right. Just do the right thing. Some of these people sitting in this role taught their children to do the right things, and their children are dead. What are you going to tell that kid? It's not some abstract question. What are you going to tell the rest of the country? Some things different are happening here, and when Cornel West and Carl Dix speaks, you will hear that. But are you going to do something different? This is your chance to do something different. There's more than one $500 in here. There's more than one $500, and I'll tell you something else. Somebody always has to be first. Somebody always has to be first. And I want to know who the hell it is. I want to know who it is. I want to know who it is. Where's the hand? $500. There it is. There it is. Another $500. Come on. Come on. Where is it? 1 5. 1 5. Another 5. Come on. Come on. Come on. And if there are 3 5s in here, there's 7 more. And I'm telling you this, those 3 right there, they're going to be, before this is over, you haven't even heard Cornel West and Carl Dix yet. So there's some more 5+s in here. And just, so those of you in Atlanta, in Los Angeles, in the Bay Area, you just heard what people did here, match it in some kind of way. Match it in some kind of way. Match it in some kind of way.
Thank you, Brother Reese. Now, the bucket shouldn't be moving yet. The bucket shouldn't be moving yet unless you're going for the $500 folk. Because somebody wants to get a $500, they just forgot to bring the checkbook, they only got a card, and I understand that. If you're willing to make your commitment for your $500, stand on your feet so they can come get your information. You may not have it with you today. Here we go. Here we go, Sister Belafonte, bless your heart. Here we go. Somebody get over here so we can make sure we're making a connection. Where we at? Since one of you ladies get over here so we can make sure we got that information. Amen. We're going to get there. We don't want the buckets to flow yet until we get to $500. We got Sister Belafonte. Anyone else want to make your commitment? Now, here's something else. Here we go. I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you. I see a hand. Here's a hand. Here's a hand. Right here. We're going to get it. Here it is. Look at God. Look at God. Now, somebody wants to give the $500. You just want somebody to help you. I understand. I need help. But give me 2 people right quick, or give me even numbers. I don't care if it's 22 of you, who are going to give $250 so we can make up $500. Stand on your feet. Where my $250? There we go. Look at here. Here we go, right in the back. Are you watching? You folks with the buckets, go get it. Go get it. You guys with the buckets, go get it. $250. I saw another right back here. Another one here. Another one there in the middle, in the center. Come on here. We got a movement to finance. And you can't expect the folk that's killing you to pay for you to do what you need to do, can you? Oh, we got to do this thing for ourselves.
Hey, this is a new day. If what you're thinking about giving, if that won't get you in trouble when you go home, you ain't thinking about giving enough. If your partner don't tell you when you come home, are you crazy? Then you are not giving enough money. This is a new time, a new day.
Now, did we get the 250 and the folk? Did we get Sister Belafonte? We got everybody, didn't we do that? Amen. I just like to say that name. That's a cool name. But listen, some of you need a little more help. You want to give 5, but you only got 1. And 4 other people going to help you come up with that 5 because you're going to give $100. If you're here and you have your $100, stand up on your feet right quick. We're going to do this quick so we can get out the way. Come on, get up on your feet. Thank you, Pastor Phelps. Come on, here's one in the back, one in the front. I see 3 over here. Come on here, get up on your feet. These are the $100. This is how we get to 500. These are the $100 folks. We should start a club, Brother Dix. Have folk according to the categories that they give, amen? We start us a club. I'm gonna be in the $500 club too. Come on here, let's go. There's one here. Those with the buckets, we got to move quickly. I appreciate what y'all doing. We just want to do it quickly. The $100 folks. Here we go. We're gonna get folk here in October. Come on. Now, some of you are here and your heart is in the right place, but you find yourself with funds not, at least to any multitude. And you got $50 and you dying to give your $50, $60, or $70, we want you to jump up on your feet real quick like you eager to give it. Come on, jump up real quick. Don't even think about it. You know you got that $50. There's one in the back. Look over here. Are we seeing them people? Here we go. Come on, you $50 folks. Look at here. Look at here. Look at these $50 folks. Come on here. We getting it done. We're going to be out the way in no time, bro. We getting it done. There's another one over here. We got 2 over there. Come on, let's get them. Oh, that's the big number. Everybody waiting on the 21. Don't y'all quit shaking. We're going to get to you in a minute. You $20 folks, let me see you get to your feet. Jump up real quick. Where my $20 folk at? Come on, get on your feet. We love those 20s. Jump on, come on here. Look at the 20s. Come on here and get up on your feet. Look at that. You folks with the bucket, come on. Let's get them. Let's go quickly. We don't want them to have to wait long. They might think about it. Okay. For those of you who are not prepared tonight, if you look on the back of your program, you'll see that checks can be made payable, Stop Mass Incarceration /AFGJ is how you're going to make your check out. There's a post office box number on the back of your program. Make sure you take that with you. Now, real quick, $20 folks are on their feet, still waiting anxiously. The $10 folks who were going to go to McDonald's in the morning changed their mind and decided instead of getting 10 things on the dollar menu, they're going to get their $10 tonight. Jump on your feet, my $10 people, and just get ready for somebody to come get your money. Believe me, it is all appreciated, and I mean that sincerely. You $10 folk, come on. You're going to be responsible for getting somebody here in October. And I don't want to discriminate against no $5 folks. $5 folks, let me see you wave them high so they can come by. Get those $5. That's, look at that. They add up too, don't they? Yeah. Let's get the 5. Now listen. I'm sorry. All right, there we go. And there's a way that you can actually give online. Did you know that? You can actually give your funds online. Again, I refer you to the back of your program for details, for information. See any of the ushers here tonight, they can share that information with you as well. Now, we're just going to have we gotten all of those who have committed? Ushers, where are my bikes? Now, ushers, do this for me from where you are. Let's begin here at the front, and let's start just passing for whatever change, whatever else, because we want everybody's heart to be blessed, and they want to give whatever they have to give, and we ain't leaving nobody out of being blessed. Come on and give yourselves a hand. Give yourselves a hand. You've been wonderful. You have been absolutely wonderful, and we're grateful. And if you don't mind, we don't take up no money without praying, and we're going to do that while y'all collect.
No, you do the prayer.
You want me to do that? Okay. Amen. Ushers, continue to move. Father, in the name of your Son who has blessed us to be here, we thank you for the hearts of your people. We thank you for the gifts of your people. Father, now we pray that you see to it that it is used for its intended purpose. We know it's going to the right place and for the right purpose. This we ask. In your name we pray. Amen. Give yourselves another hand as the ushers finish up.
Thank you so much. All right, while the bucket is still going around, please allow me to introduce one of our speakers for the evening. Carl Dix has been fighting and defying this system of injustice for longer than I've been alive. He not only fights for liberation of all people here in the United States, but he fights for the liberation of people worldwide. It started with a refusal to go to Vietnam in 1970. He served 2 years in a military prison because he took the time to think critically about what it meant for him to go overseas and fight a war for freedom of other people when black people did not have freedom here in the United States. And he said, no, I'm not going. He is a founding member of the Revolutionary Communist Party, as well as a co-founding member with Dr. Cornel West of the Stop Mass Incarceration Network, which was started in 2011 in an effort to accelerate the movement to stop the injustice of mass incarceration and the criminalization of black and brown youth here in the United States. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Carl Dix.
I want to thank Kimberly for that introduction, and I want to get started. 60 years ago tomorrow, Emmett Till was brutally murdered. Why? Because they say he whistled at a white woman. 4 days after this, 2 white men came to his family's home and dragged Emmett off. They took him to a river. They made him take his clothes off, and they beat him almost to death. They gouged his eye out, and then they shot him in the head. And they tied a 75-pound fan to his body, and they threw him in the river. They were never punished for this murder, in spite of the fact that they admitted to doing it in an interview with Look magazine a few months later. Saturday is going to be another solemn anniversary. 10 years ago, Hurricane Katrina roared out of the Gulf of Mexico. It came on shore in New Orleans and overwhelmed the levees, flooding 80% of the city. Thousands and thousands of mostly poor black people were left to die in New Orleans, as the government refused to provide rescue for people and refused to deliver emergency supplies of food and water. Nearly 2,000 people did die in New Orleans. People, mostly black people again, were herded into pens in the New Orleans Superdome that were reminiscent of the way the Africans were crammed into the holds of the slave ships. Now, there were some black people who were like, we ain't gonna die here. We gonna do what we need to do to save our lives and other lives. People went to stores and went in and got food and passed it out. People found some boats and went paddling down and rescuing people from the rooftops. The government called these people looters. The governor of Louisiana said, shoot the looters on sight. And police did gun down people who were doing nothing more than trying to escape the floodwaters. Then, in the weeks that followed Hurricane Katrina, the authorities used the hurricane to ethnically cleanse New Orleans by driving more than 100,000 black people out of the city. I saw some of this close up because I went to New Orleans in the aftermath of Katrina. I was down there several times. I fought together with people to stop the way that they were driving black people out of that city. Now, these two anniversaries are gone into very deeply in Revolution newspaper. And that paper's here tonight. I hope you already got a copy of it, but if you didn't, go get one. And if you did get one, go get some more and get them to other people, because we need to know about this and other people need to know about this. People need to think about those two horrific anniversaries. But we also need to think about something else. From Emmett Till to Sandra Bland. From the catastrophe of Katrina to the catastrophe of mass incarceration. From the horrors of the slave ships, the centuries of enslavement, lynch mob terror, South and North, to what we're here about today. What we must do to stop police terror and murder. Think about this. Think about what America has meant and still means to black people. What must we do to stop all this? Now, I'm going to get into this in two ways. I'm going to talk tonight about the only real way to end all this, and then I'm going to talk about Rise Up October and how that fits into that real way, which is revolution, by the way. Rise Up October, the huge national march to stop police terror on October 24th here in New York City. This is something that everybody can jump into right away to push these killers back, and it's something that you must jump into. Now, to start all of this, I want to share with you a quote from Bob Avakian, the leader of the Revolutionary Communist Party. Here's what he says. There is the potential for something of unprecedented beauty to arise out of unspeakable ugliness. Black people playing a crucial role in putting an end, at long last, to this system, which has for so long not just exploited, but dehumanized, terrorized, and tormented them in 1,000 ways. Putting an end to this in the only way it can be done, by fighting to emancipate humanity, to put an end to the long night in which human society has been divided into masters and slaves, and the masses of humanity have been lashed, beaten, raped, slaughtered, shackled, and shrouded in ignorance and misery. Yes, the ugliness that he talks about there is real. It's so real that it's painful to even think about it. But let's look at it a little bit. Let's look at the way that they stole the land from the native inhabitants of this land, carried out a genocide against them, and then put the few who survived in concentration camps that they called reservations. There's the way that they dragged millions of Africans to these shores in slave chains. Oh yes, this capitalist system It came into being dripping with blood from every pore, just like Karl Marx said. But there's more, there's more. There's the subjugation of women, which is ages old and continues in the current day, with a culture of servitude and rape, and viewing women as sex objects. And with attempts, that's real, that's real. And also with attempts to control a woman's most private decisions of when and whether to have a child. That's real too. And there's more. There's the way they do the immigrants. People who are driven here by the hunger and the horror that the U.S. causes in their homelands. That's right. People come here desperately seeking work, and then they're persecuted, deported in record numbers by Obama, and then insulted by fascist idiots like Donald Trump. But I ain't finished yet, there's more. There's the imperialist wars. Now the powers that be, they will sometimes tell us about the Americans who die in these wars. But do they tell us about the people that get killed in their wars? No, they don't. But I'm gonna do that. 1 million people in Iraq over the last 25 years in 2 wars they carried out. 3 million people in Vietnam. 3 million more people in Korea. And do they tell you why these killings happen? Well, I can tell you, Cornell can tell you too, it's about empire. That's what it's about. And I was in their army. I saw how they try to break you down and then turn you into a mindless killer for their imperialist wars. Now, like Kimberly said, when they told me in 1970 I had to ship out to Vietnam, I said, hell no, I ain't going. I mean, I refused to kill my Vietnamese sisters and brothers for this system. And I did 2 years in Leavenworth Military Penitentiary for that. And now, this system is even threatening to destroy all of humanity by despoiling the environment of the very planet that we live on. This is the ugliness that we're up against, and we can't turn away from it. We gotta look at it. We gotta look at all of it. But there's something else. There's the great beauty and the potential to bring that out that Avakian talked about. The potential to emancipate all of humanity. Now look, sisters and brothers, this is not a dream. This is not, don't worry, we'll get justice someday, somehow. This can be done. Humanity can be emancipated. And the way to do this is through revolution, through getting rid of this system. Getting rid of this system and bringing in a system that's based on freeing people from all that ugliness and developing whole new ways for people to relate to each other. Now, a lot of people tell me, Carl, you crazy. You can't make revolution. They're too powerful. But look, what's really crazy is going along with this system and thinking somehow things are going to get better. And let me say this about their power. I've seen it up close, and I've seen the very real potential to defeat that power. We saw the potential to make revolution in the 1960s, when black people stood up against the oppression that they were bringing down on us, and sparked a much broader resistance movement here in the United States, and struck a chord with people around the world. That the potential to defeat them and their power was shown in Vietnam, where peasants were mobilized, organized, and inspired, and defeated the big, powerful United States Army. And part of how they did that is that they inspired soldiers like me to rebel and not go and fight for this army and for this country. Back then, we wanted to change everything. We wanted to question everything. And we saw glimmers of that different morality, a whole different way people could relate to each other. We saw a glimpse back then of the great beauty that Avakian talks about in that quote. Now, in a few parts of the world, people did make revolution and get free. And here in the US, in the belly of the beast, as we used to call it back then, the system got knocked back on its heels. But things did not go far enough, sisters and brothers. We never made revolution here in the US, leaving power in the hands of the capitalist exploiters. And in some of the places where revolution had been made, power was seized back. The attempt to change everything got defeated. And people around the world and in this country have paid a heavy price in blood and in misery ever since. A lot of people got too beaten down and gave up. We did get a few faces in high places. We got some mayors, we got some congressmen, we even got a president. But what did we get out of that? We got more than 2 million people in prison. Today, 45% of black children under 6 grow up in poverty. We got crack. We got AIDS epidemic. And all the other horrors that go along with what Lorraine Hansberry and Langston Hughes called a dream deferred. But that's where Bob Avakian comes in, because he never gave up on the people and he never gave up on revolution. Not only that, he made new breakthroughs in revolution, including in basically solving problems that the revolution ran up against back then. Don't let people tell you we can't do better than this. Don't let anybody tell you that America is eternal and that the best we can hope for is getting some itty-bitty changes in how they dog us here. Don't let them suck you into framing what you're trying to do in the language and the terms of the system. Don't let them tell you that the only way we can do anything is to limit ourselves to the channels that the system puts out there. We've seen this movie before, and it leads to results in the whole genocidal situation we face right now. And yes, I said genocide. So I'm challenging everybody here, especially you young people. Get into this revolution. Check out Bob Avakian and what he's brought forward about how to make revolution. And keep your sights aimed right where they need to be on emancipating all of humanity. That's right, that's real. And look, to check out Avakian, go to our website, revcom.us, or come to our new bookstore opening up this fall in Harlem at 437 Malcolm X Boulevard at 132nd Street. And I'll tell you, if you go by there at the right time, you might see me up in there, because I'm gonna be there quite a bit. But however you do it, get into Avakian, check him out, check out his work. Now, look, I'm coming from the need for and the possibility of revolution, and because I'm coming from that, I understand that we have to fight right now. We can't let them get away with beating us so far down that we could never rise up against what they do to us. And we have to mobilize everybody we can, wherever they're coming from, however they see the problem and the solution, to fight this madness we face. And again, that's what we came here tonight to do, to find out what we must do to stop police terror and police murder. Now, I'm gonna get into that, and let me start by getting personal. When I tell you that police have killed 700 people so far this year, that's 700 people in just the first 8 months of 2015. These are not just statistics to me. In the decades that I've been working on and fighting to stop police murder, I've seen the devastation that killer cops inflict on families and on communities. I met Myrtilla Jones a few days after the police murdered her granddaughter, Ayanna. After they broke into her house, the wrong house, serving a warrant, and murdered this little girl. I met Nicholas Hayward, Sr., almost 20 years ago, a couple years after his son, Nicholas Jr., had been murdered by the police. I met Juanita Young, 15 years ago, again, just days after her son had been murdered. Ask these parents what it's like to mourn a child whose life was stolen from you by those who are sworn to protect and serve. And to do that mourning in a situation where you didn't get no justice. Ask them about that. Or you can ask my wife, whose brother was shot down by the cops right in front of his mother's house just one day after those pigs had come there and told her she would never see her son alive again. All this is a big part of why I'm fighting to stop this, why I'm going to mobilize people for Rise Up October. And it's why you need to be a part of doing that too, why you need to join this effort. Now, a lot of times people fronting for this system run up on us and say, what are your demands? They say, you just can't tell us to stop letting our cops kill you. You have to have some reasonable demands. See, now it tells you something about this system, that to them, stopping the police from murdering innocent people, from terrorizing black people and other oppressed people is unreasonable. But let's leave that aside for a minute. Okay, here are some demands. How about indicting, convicting, and putting killer cops in jail? Does that sound reasonable to y'all? And I don't just mean cops who get caught on video next week killing somebody. I mean all them cops that have murdered thousands and thousands of people in the years and decades past. And this is a reasonable demand because there is no statute of limitations on murder. So they can't say it's too long ago. But here's another demand. How about dismantling the whole system of the new Jim Crow of mass incarceration and the whole genocidal program this concentrates? You know, don't be bragging about Obama pardoned 46 people because there's 2.3 million people that's locked down in these prisons. How about doing something for real about this? What about this one? How about dropping charges on everybody who got arrested protesting murder by police over the last year? How about that one? How about shutting down that dungeon and butcher shop over there on Rikers Island here in New York City? And then shut down the other dungeons that they call prisons in other cities across the country. And then we do have an overarching demand. How about you stop unleashing your cops to kill our people? Now look, these demands are pretty reasonable. Unless you're presiding over a system that needs official murder, terror, and unjust imprisonment in order to keep the masses of people under control. These are demands that people need to throw down over and fight for as part of ending these horrors. And Rise Up October, the big national march in New York City on October 24th, is aimed at making a big leap in that fight, the fight to stop the horror of cops getting away with murder. Now, when you're up against a genocide, and that is what we're dealing with, you don't ask the people presiding over that genocide to make some changes to smooth out the rough edges in it, or to make some new policies to slow down the intensity of that genocide. You say, stop this stuff, and you act to stop it. When you're up against the genocide, you don't listen when the people bringing that genocide down on you say, well, you've made your point. So how about if you stop disrupting the business as usual of our system and let things go back to normal? I'll tell you, we have not made our point. We haven't made our point till all of society is in an uproar saying that this must stop. We haven't made our point until everybody has felt compelled to choose sides on this, because they understand that there's no middle ground, and people feel challenged to be out in the streets saying, this must stop. We haven't made our point until, like Reverend McCory has said, these so-called champions of human rights stand revealed before the whole world for the frauds that they are, and the whole world sees that this must stop. This is why we got to be out there. This is why we got to be out there on October 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. October 22nd, the National Day of Protest to stop police brutality, repression, and the criminalization of a generation. There's got to be powerful demonstrations in cities all across the country. And we got to do something very important and very special on October 22nd. We got to be reading the names of those who have been murdered by police. We got to be doing that with prominent people, joining with the loved ones of those murdered, with clergy, with students and others, and doing as Kimberly Crenshaw and the singer Janelle Monáe have called on us to do. Say their names. We got to do this. This will send a powerful message. People won't be able to turn their heads and say they didn't see it. Then on October 23rd, students, clergy alongside them, in solidarity with those who feel the lash of this every day, we're going to have to engage in some significant nonviolent direct action here in New York City and shut down one of their institutions of misery and terror. And at the appropriate time, we will let everybody know which institution, where, and when. And this will deliver a powerful message to all. The message that this movement is serious. And then on October 24th itself, we, all of us, that's on the list of things to think about. Something is going to be shut down on the 23rd. Then on October 24th, we, all of us, will gather in New York City. We're going to march in from Grant Homes and Strivers Row in Harlem, from Washington Heights, from Jackson Heights, from Bed-Stuy, from Hunts Point, from Jamaica, Queens, and maybe some people are going to come up from the island, Staten Island. It's going to be students from the CUNY campuses around the city, from Columbia and dozens of other campuses in this area. People from Newark, from Patterson, from Hartford up in Connecticut, numbering in thousands upon thousands. And we will be joined by thousands upon thousands more from Atlanta, from Chicago, from Cleveland, from Detroit, from New Orleans and Mississippi. There's people from California talking about coming to New York City. And millions of people across the country and around the world will hear our powerful cry. Which side are you on? Millions are going to say, okay, I got to choose sides. And many of them will decide they have to be with those of us who are acting to stop this. We will change history. We will inspire thousands, and yes, millions, who are tired of being treated like criminals. Tired of seeing cops patrolling their communities like occupying armies. We're going to inspire them and move them to see that they don't have to keep taking this. to see that it's not their fault, and they will stand up and act to stop this. We will rally to their side thousands of people from other sections of society who refuse to stand aside while people are being beat down and murdered for no other reason than the color of their skin. And we're going to open the eyes of those who don't suffer these horrors, challenging them to quit swallowing the lying justifications that the system gives for giving a green light to killer cops, and challenging them to get off the sidelines. Again, which side are you on? Are you on the side of acting to stop these horrors, or are you on the side of continuing to let them go down? Because I'll tell you, there is no middle ground. There is no neutrality on this. You got to choose a side. And when I say choose a side, I don't mean just giving us your sympathy. That ain't enough. I mean actively joining in the resistance and mobilizing others to resist too. You got to join this effort. You got to be a part of making October 24th as powerful as possible. And tonight, somebody's going to tell you how you can join into this, what you can do, and who you can hook up with to be a part of Rise Up October. And I will tell you, and let me just be blunt, if you and people like you don't throw in on this, it ain't going to happen the way it needs to. And it has to happen the way it needs to, sisters and brothers. Let me just tell you, I'm with you on that, sister, but let me just tell you, I do not want to keep on making hashtags of the names of the people killed by police. I do not want to keep adding names to the list of the lives stolen by law enforcement. I don't want to keep adding pictures to banners like this one over here. I do not want to keep doing this, sisters and brothers. I don't want to let this genocide keep going on so that future generations will be here discussing what to do about it 20 years from now. No, that ain't the deal. We got to end this. We got to end this now. So let's get out there. Let's go out of here determined that we're going to do all we can to stop this. And then let's do more than that. Let's make October a big step towards a world where when future generations learn about Emmett Till and Katrina, it really will be history. A history that's been overcome, that no longer echoes and booms in the reality of the present. Let's do this in a world where humanity has straightened its back and works to emancipate itself, sisters and brothers. And let's start doing that now. Let's move. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Carl Dix. Now, before I introduce Dr. West, I want to invite and strongly encourage all of you to stick around after he finishes. I want to thank you all for staying with us tonight. But we have a closing planned that I promise you do not want to miss. So please stick around to the end. We're almost there. And thank you all for being with us tonight. Let's give ourselves a round of applause. I'm going to say this about Dr. Cornel West. In life, we all have to make choices as to what we are going to stand for and whom we are going to stand with. Dr. Cornel West is perhaps the leading public intellectual of his generation. He has redefined the academic fields of philosophy, Black studies, and religion. He is professor of philosophy and Christian practice at Union Theological Seminary and professor emeritus at Princeton University. That's right. He has written classic works, including Race Matters and Democracy Matters, and recent texts like Black Prophetic Fire and The Radical King. Now, my point is this. Many folks with similar credentials have chosen a life of comfort, appeasement to the establishment, and the material rewards of celebrity, but not Brother West. He is a product of and now a torchbearer of the Black prophetic tradition. He fights for justice and he stands with the people. And that's why he's loved. He's never sold out and he's always been uncompromising. And that's why it is my great honor to introduce our brother, Dr. Cornel West.
Brother Nkosi, Du Bois Anderson. Give it up, Brother Nkosi. Oh, yes, I'm blessed to have this brother as my head teaching assistant in my course on W.B. Du Bois. You all know W.B. Du Bois is the greatest public intellectual in the history of the American empire. Give it up for Du Bois, because his spirit is here. Just like Sojourner Truth, just like Ida B. Wells, just like Marcus Garvey. And we don't have a language to describe the fire of Malcolm X, or Martin Luther King Jr. I'm not going to talk too long tonight because this is not a time for words. Words are too cheap when action is necessary. But I do want to salute this space, this consecrated space. I want to salute our dear brother Francois. Give it up for him. Give it up for him. Thank you so very much for allowing us in this consecrated space. Send my love and respect to brother and sister Warren. Because I'm here because I am who I am because somebody loved me. Somebody cared for me. Somebody attended to me. And when I see these precious faces and I look in their eyes and I take enough time to connect with their souls, and then I see the precious loved ones and the tears flowing, I say those tears are not in vain. Because we come from a people, we come from a tradition, a community who constitutes what the Isley brothers call a caravan of love. That's what it's all about. When you've been terrorized for 400 years, when you've been traumatized for 400 years, when you've been stigmatized for 400 years, but you still produce a John Coltrane who talks about love supreme. You still produce a Marvin Gaye who said, what's going on? Who cares for the children? Who really cares? When you produce a Nina Simone that can talk about what it means to be young, gifted, and black. When you produce a Donny Hathaway who can raise the question of someday we'll be free in the midst of so much terror, in the midst of so much trauma, in the midst of so much stigma, that allows you to take a stand. And that's what we're talking about in October, what it means to take a stand. Now, there used to be a brother on every fifth Sunday in my church, the Shiloh Baptist Church on the chocolate side of Sacramento, California. He'd show up and sit down on the organ. His name was Sylvester Stewart, but he's known to the world for the genius that he is, named Sly Stone. Y'all remember Sly Stone? And he wrote a song called Stand. You've been sitting much too long. There's a permanent crease in your right and wrong. Stand, there's a midget standing tall and the giant beside him about to fall. But then he got theological. He says, stand, there's a cross for you to bear. Things to go through if you going anywhere. That's where we are right now. The American empire is in decline, y'all. capitalist civilization, market-driven, obsessed with narrow individualism, hedonism, narcissism, suffering from a spiritual malnutrition and a moral constipation. The coursing of the conscience and the hardening of the heart, a chilling of the soul, that callousness and indifference toward the suffering, especially the suffering of the vulnerable, of the children. How can we live in a society in which almost 45% of all of our precious children of color live in poverty in the richest nation in the history of the world? That's spiritually profane. That's morally obscene. That's spiritually sick. 22% of all of the children in America live in poverty. I don't care what color, each one equally precious. Something is wrong. That's a Keith Sweat moment. Something just ain't right. Brother Kevin, you know what I'm talking about. And we got these two giants here, Glenn Ford and Nellie Bailey. Oh, we got a black agenda report. Oh, keep track of it. You get some deep truths of what it means to talk about empire. White supremacy sitting at the center of the American democratic experiment, and it was not the enslavement of black people that's the original sin. No, it was a stealing of the land of precious indigenous brothers and sisters. That makes it empire. That's an imperial project, a settler colonial project. We have to be able to straighten our backs up enough to do what? To tell the truth, and the condition of truth is to allow suffering to speak. And I come from a people, when I say people, I'm not talking about folk in the abstract. I'm talking about Cliff and Irene, my parents. I'm talking about what I learned in Vacation Bible School in Shiloh, that taught me to be a person of integrity and honesty and decency, and have the courage to straighten my back up and tell the truth, and to allow suffering to speak, but always put love at the center of it. Because if love is not at the center of it, it's just sounding brass and tinkling cymbal, and you discover that quickly. Because there's no way that all this suffering could be going on, all of this political murder and terror could be going on. The school system's producing soul murder every day, gentrification of chocolate spaces with power grabs and land grabs. 1% of the population got 42% of the wealth and growing. Wages are stagnating for 40 years. Where's the outrage? If you really love folk, you hate the fact that they're being treated unjustly. You loathe the fact they're being treated unfairly. And if we don't do something, the rocks are gonna cry out. Unless, and here's where the challenge begins, and this is what I love about Malcolm X. Malcolm said, my only credential is sincerity. He spoke the truth as he understood it. Doesn't mean he's right all the time, but you can rest be assured that just like a song by Aretha Franklin, what he has to say is for real. It's coming from his soul. It's coming from his gut. And in the last 35 years during the Ice Age, the neoliberal Ice Age, and by neoliberal, all I mean is financialize, privatize, militarize. You got a problem? Financialize. Bring in the big money in the banks. Privatize. Push out the public life. Push out public education. Push out the public conversation on corporate media. Just be concerned about the money. Money, money. Wu-Tang Clan say what? Cream. Cash rules everything around me, but it doesn't have to rule me. I can decide which side I'm going to be on. I can decide who I'm going to be in solidarity with. I can decide when I straighten my back up on the job, on the street, church, mosque, synagogue. If you're secular, if you're atheistic and agnostic, that's all right in terms of being able to still take a stand. I worked with a revolutionary communist for many, many years. I love him to death. His name is Carl Dix. I love that brother to death. I think he's wrong on the God question, but that's all right. I'm a Jesus-loving free black man. I'm a revolutionary Christian. He is a justice-loving free black man. He's a revolutionary communist. we overlap. Because we overlap in our love for these folk. Because we overlap with a love for poor people, working people, not just here, but all around the world. They could be peasants in Mexico. They could be wrestling with an ugly Israeli occupation that our Palestinians are. They could be dealing with tyranny in Ethiopia. They could be talking about how can I come to terms with my gay, lesbian, and trans identity in Canada. Doesn't make any difference. All of them got equal status in the eyes of the God that I serve. Same status, same significance. But the problem is that we live in the age of the sellout. Sell out preachers, sell out lawyers, sell out pharmacists, sell out professors, sell out civil rights leaders, across the board. Everybody's for sale. All you got to do is offer some money, little power, little status, and next thing you know, they change their tune. No, no, love doesn't allow you to do that. Now, I'm the kind of Christian who I love the sellouts as human beings, but I'm going to tell the truth about them. Because all of us got gangster proclivities. I was a gangster before I met Jesus, and now I'm a redeemed sinner with gangster proclivities. So y'all got to keep me honest, keep Carl Dix honest, keep all the parents honest. All of us have those proclivities when we get scared. But black people at our best hated people but taught the world so much about love. Treated unjustly but taught the world so much about justice. Traumatized but taught the world so much about how to be cool. Black people at our best have been truth tellers, which means we've been cross bearers before we were flag wavers. And that's part of our challenge in the age of Obama. That once we got a black president, we got too many folk waving the flag and not enough folk wanting to bear the cross. So many folk concerned with the breakthrough at the top and losing sight of those stuck in the basement. Those still catching hell, those wretched of the earth that the great Frantz Fanon talked about in the midst of the American empire. That's what Stop Mass Incarceration is all about. Black Agenda Report, y'all call it a mass incarceration state. Because black people, we moved from what? 244 years of not just slavery, but labor as a form of torture. It was against the law for black people to read or write. It's against the law for black people to worship God without white supervision. You see, that's more than a police state. And what do? We stole away at night and ring shouts and held hands and lifted our voices just like the national anthem called Lift Every Voice. And in lifting your voice, we decide not to be an echo, not to be a copy, but an original. Not to be an imitation, but to be creations and innovations, providing something new for the world. That's the tradition that we're talking about in Stop Mass Incarceration. But how do we do it? It's a spiritual question as well as a political one. And I'm going to end on this because, as I said, we don't need long speeches. But for black people, anytime we decide to straighten our backs up, to tell the truth, to bear witness, and be willing to live and die for something bigger than you. Anytime we decide to do that, the powers that be start shaking. We could call it the process of de-niggerizing black people. That's what it is. But when you keep a folk niggerized, they so afraid and scared and intimidated, walking around humpbacked all the time, not believing in themselves, not respecting themselves, not loving themselves at all. And when you don't love yourself, you don't love the people who look like you. You disrespect yourself, you disrespect folk that look like you. You become just a niggerized zombie, as it were, because you're giving up on your humanity. You believe the white supremacist hype that's been bombarding you through corporate media and through school and through all the other institutions. But lo and behold, when black people decide to become de-niggerized, to straighten up, quit laughing when it ain't funny, quit scratching when it don't itch, quit wearing the mask, be true to who God called you to be. And usually it takes about every 30 years, because when the black folk who do that, they either get murdered, they get shot down, they get lied on, they get scorned, they get rebuked, and the warriors are incarcerated. And what's left is just the milquetoast professionals who want to be successful. And I don't come from a tradition of a people so much blood, sweat, and tears just to produce successful Negroes. I want to know what you're going to be faithful to. How you going to use your success? What kind of human being are you going to be given the material toys that you have? What they going to say at your funeral beyond the fact that you just had big mansions and a trophy spouse? What's the quality of your character? What kind of integrity, honesty, and decency did you really have? What courage did you manifest? How deep was your love? Did you organize and mobilize with others? Did you go down swinging like Muhammad Ali and Ella Fitzgerald and Duke Ellington and Sarah Vaughan and Gladys Knight and the Jones Girls and the Emotion? That's the question. That's why this movement connects the spiritual to the social, the personal to the political, the economic to the existential. We talk about the whole person undergoing transformation to become a freedom fighter and then be faithful unto death. Why? Because those who have already died, we're going to allow their afterlife to work through us. Because we're going to have Sankofa, which means we're not going to move forward until we first look back and remember the best of those who came before that constitutes wind at our back. That's what Stop Mass Incarceration is about. That's why I call it the love train. Get on the love train. Curtis Mayfield said you don't need no ticket, just get on board. Get on board. Stop mass incarceration and decide which side you're really on and come with us, not just October 24th, but decide to be a long distance runner like Mumi Abu Jamal and so many others all the way through. Stay strong, y'all. Thank you.
Cornell West. And so now I'm going to invite Travis Morales to introduce our closing. He is a longtime revolutionary, a leader in the Stop Mass Incarceration Network and the Revolutionary Communist Party. Travis Morales.
You've heard Carl, you've heard Cornell, you've heard these families, and you've heard others. You've been excited, and you've been inspired. And you've heard what you can do to stop police terror. And here's the thing. You are needed beginning right now. This is not going to stop without you. Take out your organizing packet. Turn to the page that says, what's next? Rise Up October needs you. Come to the organizing meeting this Sunday. It's an organizing meeting, it's a mobilizing meeting, it's a get-together meeting at West Park Presbyterian Church, 86th Street in Amsterdam, starting again at 6 p.m., where people are going to come together to make the plans, to get organized, to get mobilized, to bring people out into the streets in the thousands on October 24th. Come to this meeting. Join the Stop Police Terror, Which Side Are You On? Rise Up October tour. That's going to be going to all 5 boroughs that include Staten Island. Join the tour for one day or for all 14 days. You can go on the tour or work to support the activities of the tour. Join one of the teams that are working to reach out and bring Rise Up October and involve all the people of faith, the high school and college students, the unions, the immigrant rights people, to involve the youth that are the targets of this brutality and murder every day in the ghettos and barrios. Get involved to raise the money to bring the 100 families of people whose lives have been stolen by the police to Rise Up October, October 24th, 22nd through 24th. And here's the thing. You cannot just be inspired tonight by what you heard, though being inspired is very important. You can't just go out of here saying this was a wonderful program. I heard all these great speakers. You have to channel that inspiration and you have to act. I'm going to be real blunt. What you do matters. What you do can make a real difference in actually stopping police terror. And here's the thing. The people are depending on you to stop it. Together we can challenge all of society. Stop police terror. Which side are you on? And change the minds of millions. So leave here with your palm cards and your posters. And I have a little surprise here. These just arrived. Buy your official Rise October t-shirt. Rise Up October. They're for sale for $15. They just arrived while we were meeting. So leave here with your palm cards and your posters. And don't leave here without getting signed up. And take out your smartphone right now and go to stopmassincarceration.net. Stopmassincarceration.net and save that, because you need to be going there every day, in fact twice a day, for updates on what is developing, and particularly what's developing with this tour. And very importantly, come to the mobilizing and organizing meeting on Sunday. Get mobilized, get involved, fill the streets of New York on October 24th. Stop police terror. Which side are you on? Rise Up October.
All right. So it's up to us to close the show. But this is not a performance. This, in fact, is interactive. So we're going to need everybody here to do this with us as well. We are artists. We are human beings. We're rappers. We're dancers. We're actors. We're performers. Some of us rep Artists for Justice. Some of us rep the NYC Revolution Club. But we're here standing with the families. We're here standing with all of you guys. Everybody here for Rise Up October. And so we got a little song for y'all. I think y'all might know the words. Hell you. Hell you. So sing along if you know the words.
Hell you. Hell you. 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hell you talking about. 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 Tony Robinson, say his name. Tony Robinson. Tony Robinson. Tony Robinson. Ayanna Jones. Ayanna Jones. Ayanna Jones. Ayanna Jones. Justice Howe. Justice Howe. Justice Howe. Justice Howe. Say his name. 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 Hell you talking about? 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 Hayward! Memphis Hayward! Memphis Hayward! Memphis Hayward! Mohammed Bob! Mohammed Bob! Mohammed Bob! Mohammed Bob! Malcolm Ferguson! Malcolm Ferguson! Malcolm Ferguson! Malcolm Ferguson! Say his name! 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 Hell you talking about? 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 Sandra Bland! Sandra Bland! Sandra Bland! Sandra Bland! Eric Garner! Eric Garner! Eric Garner! Eric Garner! Kyle Coppins! Kyle Coppins! Kyle Coppins! Kyle Coppins! Say his name! 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 What you say his name? Hell! Hell you talking about? 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 Michael Brown! Michael Brown! Michael Brown! Michael Brown! Akai Garley! Akai Garley! Akai Garley! Akai Garley! Fred Hampton! Fred Hampton! Fred Hampton! Fred Hampton! Say his name! 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 Won't you say his name? Hell you talking about? 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 Corey Mickens, say his name. Corey Mickens, say his name. Corey Mickens, say his name. Corey Mickens, won't you say his name? Naeem Owens, say his name. Naeem Owens, say his name. Naeem Owens, say his name. Naeem Owens. Ramarley Graham, say his name. Ramarley Graham. Ramarley Graham. Ramarley Graham. Say his name. 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 Won't you say his name? Hell, hell you talking about? 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 No more names! No more names! No more names! No more names! No more names!
Thank you all for coming out. Get home safely. Rise up October.